Welcome back to the 9th Gym program, and today we are going to be talking about Marowak. Now, Cantonian Marowak. Now, a lot of people have been using the Alolan form, as a great Trick Room sweeper, and this Pokemon is actually pretty notable and I think pretty underrated in Series 6 format. So, right off the bat, Mono Ground typing is pretty good. 1 immunity, 2 resistances, and 3 weaknesses. Pretty standard typing there. I mean, how much more standard can you get than 1 OG typing? Not much more standard. Anyway, it's pretty good. Our stats are pretty solid. A good ability. Actually, 2 really good abilities. So Lightning Rod is the one we went for this time, but it doesn't have to be. So Lightning Rod essentially just draws electric moves in. It negates it and then gives +1 to your special attack stat, which we don't really care about that because it's an all-in physical attack Pokemon, but still really relevant to give, your partner Pokemon something, or that electric immunity, which is really, really strong, especially in a format in Series 6 where we have a lot of bulky water-type Pokemon that don't really like electric-type Pokemon. So, makes sense to pair it with something like Primarina or Lapras and just be really strong. It's also really notable that it's good under Trick Room, and both those Pokemon are also very good under Trick Room. So, yeah, like a water-type Marowak and Trick Room core can be really solid. I think that's actually, pretty notable. So, let's look at some stats here. The other ability is Battle Armor. It's very similar to Lapras's Shell Armor in being you can't get hit by crits, which is actually really strong, especially with Urshifu. I know, it got less good with Togekiss being banned, but is still notable for Urshifu and just in general. Getting hit by a crit is just nice, but then, you can't be hit with a crit, so that's cool. Anyway, stats, pretty solid actually. HP 60 isn't too good, but, with Dynamax and investment, your HP is actually really solid. And defense at 110 and special defense at 80. Special defense is pretty, normal, pretty standard, but defense at 110 is actually really solid. So you can live a super effective physical attack or two, which is actually really good. Probably only one, but still really solid. So yeah, Dynamax in this Pokemon, it's a really good Dynamax Pokemon, but for stuff like Lapras, it can be a great non-Dynamax, and we have a lot of good calcs that we'll show off later in the video. So yeah. But for our offense, we have 80 attack, which is actually really good for Thick Club Pokemon. So if you don't know, Marowak has a signature item called Thick Club that doubles its attack. Yeah, that's insane. So yeah, on 80 base with that, it actually does so much damage. It's actually really relevant. And then last stat that matters is speed at 45. And that's not crazy for either spectrum of Trick Room or non-Trick Room, but it's pretty good for Trick Room. So yeah, that's what we went for. Anyway, that's going to be the overview. Let's go ahead and look at the VGC build that I have here for this. So Marowak at Lightning Rod at Thick Club, not really at Lightning Rod, with Lightning Rod at Thick Club is pretty good. So I already talked about both those being really useful. Lightning Rod being the basic, core for a bulky water plus Trick Room setter, and then you have Thick Club that just 2 times your attack. So there's no reason to use any other item for Marowak in my opinion, and I think everybody would agree. Why would you? It's crazy. Even if you get intimidated, you're still doing so much damage with Thick Club. It's just crazy. So let's look at some moves. So for the actual set here, I just went with 3 attacks and Detect. We only have 1 stab move, so you get 2 coverage moves, which is pretty good. We went for Bonemerang for our stab move. This is really good. You could go for Earthquake as well, depending on your team. But I just went for Bonemerang just because it's, basic. It does hit about 90% of the time. It has 90 accuracy, I believe. So that's mediocre, but it's not bad. 50 base power, hits 2 times, so it does a lot of damage. And with Thick Club, oof, the damage is there. The damage is there, which is good. For our coverage moves, we went for Rock Slide and Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch mostly giving you that access to the terrain, to give you a better matchup against Amoonguss. But also, if you pair it with Lightning Rod. If you pair it with Lapras, you can set up the the terrain first and then bring in Marowak. Of course, you're gonna have to be careful. You don't want to bring in your Marowak and then absorb your own max of lightning from your own Lapras or something. So you're definitely gonna want to be careful with Lightning Rod. But that's with any team with a Lightning Rod Pokemon, something like Raichu, Marowak, even Rhyperior. So you'll definitely have to be careful of your Lightning Rod, but yeah, it works for Marowak as well. So if you max your Marowak and then go for a max Lightning, then you just give yourself a much better matchup with Amoonguss. And if they don't have Energy Ball, one of their Pokemon is just pretty useless, being that Amoonguss. So pretty good stuff. And then last but not least, we went for Detect. Detect is better than Protect because of Imprison stuff. Imprison Protect is pretty annoying. So going for that Detect is, just better. Anyway, you do have less PP, but it's probably fine. It's probably fine. Anyway, that is going to be it for our moves. Wait, do you even have less PP? I think it's 5, right? Yeah, it's 8. Okay. So yeah, that's it for the moves. Let's go ahead and talk about some coverage moves. So I have Fire Punch, Iron Head, Brick Break, and Giga Impact there for just like coverage. So all of them are pretty good. A lot of them give you good secondary effects if you max them. Mostly, Giga Impact giving you that speed control. If you go for Trick Room, you're probably not going to want the Giga Impact anyway, but it's still notable, and I wanted to add it. Brick Break gives you a better matchup against Grimmsnarl and Lapras, being able to break those screens, and also just like Max Knuckle is pretty solid for Marowak. And then we also have Iron Head, which Max Steel Spike is really good. Also Clefairy, hitting Clefairy is really good. And then Fire Punch just gives you that max move to set weather, which can be really useful, but it's also just like a good coverage, and especially if you use something else that can set that weather, then you can have a really, really strong Fire Punch off of Marowak. So that's good. All of those are really good. And then we have Swords Dance and Belly Drum. Now, Belly Drum is way too gimmicky. I probably would never use it on this Pokemon, but I think it's worth mentioning. And then we have Swords Dance, which is definitely worth mentioning because it just gives you +2 attack on top of +2 attack from Thick Club, on top of an already pretty solid, base stat of 80 with investment. I mean, Swords Dance, Thick Club, Marowak is doing infinite damage. It's absolutely ridiculous damage. So yeah, pretty good stuff. That is going to be it for our moves. Let's go ahead and talk about some stats. So I just went for a basic EV spread of 252 into HP and attack, and then went for plus attack minus speed nature, being brave, just so we're as slow as possible. I also went for 0 IVs into speed, so we can hit that 45 speed tier, which is really solid. As far as like Trick Room sweepers go, this is the same spread you'll typically see like a Alola Marowak, and they mimic stats, so they're probably going to mimic how they play the game. With just like Thick Club, Trick Room, kill everything. So yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's good. That is about it for the VGC build for Marowak. Let's go ahead and talk about these two synergetic Pokemon. So I already covered them for the most part. First off, we have Gmax Lapras. With Lightning Rod covering it, it makes it pretty good. And if you use like that plus Comfy and go for a weakness policy strat and then bring in Marowak with Lightning Rod later in the game when it's threatened by a lightning attack, then you can get a lot of mileage off of that, use all of your turns, and then do like a lot of damage with Marowak and Lapras. Of course, that's a little bit less used for Trick Room, but you also do have Trick Room Comfy then as well, or Comfy that can set Trick Room. So yeah, that can be a really strong core, just like Lapras, Comfy, Marowak, so that's cool. And then for our other, synergetic Pokemon here, we just have Dusclops. Like, it's just the most consistent Trick Room setter currently. Of course, you have Taunt going around pretty heavily. There's like 3 or 4 Pokemon that pretty consistently run Taunt. Gothitelle, Sableye, Sarina can have it, which is really cool. Talonflame, a lot of random Pokemon. Bisharp can have it, like Bisharp Taunt. I've seen that a couple of times. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of Taunt users, but Dusclops is still very consistent. It's very bulky, and it usually gets the job done for Trick Room. So it's pretty good. Let's move on now to speed tiers. So speed tiers are, pretty good. 45 speed tier as Marowak. You also are on the same speed tier as Conkeldurr if it goes to 0 speed, and also Alola Marowak, of course. So, Alola Marowak. But you have a pretty good upside against Alola Marowak. You just take it down with Bonemerang, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, you have a good matchup against that, in my opinion. But then we also have Conkeldurr on the same speed tier. It's usually going to have some investment, though, or like no investment, but not hindering nature. So you're probably going to be outspeeding Conkeldurr once Trick Room sets, but until then, Conkeldurr will probably outspeed you. Speaking of things that that outspeed you, you have like Snorlax common builds of uninvested, and then supersized Gourgeist even if it goes 0 speed. Clefairy, Gothitelle, even if it goes 0 speed, Jellicent, Sylveon, Lapras, all of those things are going to be at that 60 to 80 tier. So that's, a pretty good tier to be at for a Trick Room sweeper. Being able to outspeed all of those Pokemon is pretty good. But there are a lot of other Trick Room Pokemon currently in the meta, things like Rhyperior, Hatterene, Gigalith, Dusclops, Ferrothorn, that are all underspeeding Marowak. So yeah, you'll have to keep that in mind. If you're up against a hard Trick Room team using a lot of those Pokemon, you're definitely going to want to keep away Trick Room. Makes sense. Anyway, that is going to be it for speed tiers. Let's talk about some damage calcs here. So I really like the damage calcs here. So like the damage is really there. At 80 base with Thick Club, it's doing so much damage. A lot of these are not even Dynamaxed calcs. Actually, I believe none of these are Dynamaxed calcs. Whoops. That was me supposed to move my stuff in the slow cooker. I'll do that in a minute. Anyway, Intimidated, Thick Club, Marowak, Bonemerang from the Intimidated Arcanine. Now, most Arcanine are going to be having special defense investments instead of physical defense, so I just went for a pretty basic spread of 116 HP and 4 defense Arcanine, but it is Intimidate, and you have a little bit of room for more defense or HP investment there because we are hitting 120 to 142. Yes, that is after an Intimidate. That is how much damage this thing does. After an Intimidate, we're still taking down Arcanine, no problem. Easy peasy. Good stuff. I like Marowak a lot, actually. Next, we have Thick Club, Rock Slide into a Talonflame, doing a million. 176 to 207. It's not going to commonly Dynamax, so even if it does Dynamax, you still have a chance to knock it out, but it's unbelievably small, so yeah. But, I mean, I haven't even seen a Talonflame Dynamax this format, so it's whatever. Rock Slide probably going to take it out. Next, we have Marowak, although it will be running, Focus Sash a lot of the time, so yeah, something to keep in mind. Anyway, Marowak, Bonemerang into a Colossal, the 180 HP. I just put in some random investment into HP, but this is pretty typical for Colossal to have a bit of HP there, but also to be Dynamax. So even if it's Dynamax with investment, we're still hitting 111 to 134%, which is a guaranteed OHKO. Huge damage to Colossal. Colossal will probably take it out with, like a max Solar Beam, but still notable because, like, especially if you go for, like, some kind of redirection or something. Or they have to, like, take out your other threat. Like, if you have Lapras and Marowak, like, what are they going to take down? Probably the Lapras, right? They're probably going to set, like, Volcalith onto Lapras. Like, it just makes sense. Anyway, next we have another offensive calc. Our last offensive calc is going to be Marowak's Bonemerang into a Dracozolt, a Dynamaxed Dracozolt. We're hitting 91 to 108, which is about 43% chance to OHKO, which is less than half, which is something I wouldn't be reliant on. But Max Quake from the Marowak is hitting 180 to 213 into the Dynamaxed form, which is a guaranteed OHKO. So that's a lot of damage against Dracozolt. So which happens to be one of Lapras's worst matchups. And also you have Lightning Rod, so yeah, that can make Lapras like have a really good matchup. So I think Lapras and Marowak can be really strong this format. Actually, I think it's something that hasn't really been seen very much, but I think is really cool. Next we have Primarina Max Geyser into Marowak. Don't expect to live Max Geyser from Primarina. I mean, it does a million damage. It hits 424 to 502. Fun fact, this is our Dynamaxed Marowak, actually, so yeah, you don't live Primarina. That's just a matchup you don't live. But, Lapras doesn't have a hard time with that, and, you can do a lot of damage back with, like, not really, Thunder Punch is what I meant to say. You can do a lot of damage with Thunder Punch or Max Lightning from Marowak, but I'd still probably not even want to put it up in the face of a Primarina, because Primarina is just so threatening to it. And then next we have our last damage calc. It's another defensive damage calc. Ferrothorn Power Whip. This is max investment into attack with Brave or Adamant Nature, probably Brave Nature, and into our Marowak, which is really interesting that it hits a perfect OHKO, 100.5 to 118. A lot of Ferrothorns are going to have a little bit more defensive calc, probably like less attack investment, and probably not a plus nature, but still something relevant to know. I probably wouldn't put it up in the face of a Ferrothorn unless you're maxing. Then you could just like pop it off with a Max Flare if you have Fire Punch on it, and yeah, Ferrothorn's probably dead to that. And by probably, yeah, it's super dead. Quad effectiveness with 2 times attack. That's a dead Ferrothorn. Anyway, that is going to be it for our damage calcs. Let's move on to single spotlight real quick before I end this video. So I do actually think this Pokemon could work pretty well in singles. We went for a battle armor here because there's not really much of a point to give it Lightning Rod since you're already immune to lightning, so it's already a safe switch in, so there's no point for that. And then the other ability is just bad. Rockhead. There's like no moves. I mean, yeah, Rockhead is good for Alolan because you have Flare Blitz, but yeah, there's nothing that you're going to be taking recoil damage here, so battle armor it is. Marowak with Thick Club and Battle Armor is pretty cool. We ran a Swords Dance, Stealth Rock to attack build, Earthquake for a stab, Fire Punch for coverage. You can change up, you can add another attack instead of Stealth Rock if you wanted, but I went for a Stealth Rock and Swords Dance just because I feel like that's, pretty consistent and works really well. I like Swords Dance for this Pokemon a lot. You switch in on an electric type move, and then boom, you have a free turn to Swords Dance the next turn. They're going to have to reposition, and then you kill them. You do a big kill. You can also go for like Stealth Rock there as well, but Earthquake and Fire Punch after a Swords Dance with Thick Club, mondo damage. For our investment, we went 252 plus into attack with Adamant Nature, and then we went for speed investment instead of HP, just so that we can set up that Swords Dance and then just punch everything really hard. So that's kind of the plan with Marowak. To sum it up, I think Marowak is actually really cool in both VGC and singles format, more so in VGC because you can take advantage of the Lightning Rod, and there's specific really strong synergies with that, mostly Lapras, Primarina, and Trick Room stuff. I think it's pretty cool. I like Marowak. I'm a big fan of Alolan Marowak, and this one can definitely put in work as well. So yeah, pretty good stuff. Anyway, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Makes a huge difference. Join the Discord. Follow me on Twitter. Support me on Patreon if that is something you like to do. Thank you so much for watching. All of the links will be in the description for all of those social platforms and so on and so forth. Yeah, have a great weekend. Good luck in the Players' Cup, and goodbye.